Dr. Jessica Miller stared at the holographic data floating before her, her reflection in the lab window showing dark circles under her eyes from another sleepless night. Something wasn't adding up in the Council's medical reports, and after 3 months of analysing their revolutionary treatments, her unease had grown into full-blown suspicion. Computer, overlay fertility rates from the past 6 months with standard human baseline, she commanded, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The graphs merged, and her breath caught in her throat. The decline wasn't subtle anymore. It was exponential. A soft chime announced a visitor. Ambassador Vexthor's towering insectoid form ducked through her lab doorway, his iridescent carapace reflecting the soft blue light of her displays. 4 of his secondary arms adjusted his ceremonial sash, while his primary limbs remained perfectly still, a gesture she'd learned indicated practiced diplomacy. Dr. Miller working late again? His mandibles clicked in what the translation matrix rendered as gentle concern. The Council is most pleased with Earth's adaptation to our medical protocols. Your species' acceptance rate is unprecedented. Jessica forced a smile, casually reaching over to minimize her current display. We're an eager bunch, Ambassador. Humanity has dreamed of the stars for millennia. Your treatments are helping us achieve that dream. The lies felt bitter on her tongue. Indeed. Vexthor moved closer, his compound eyes reflecting countless versions of her lab. The Council has high hopes for humanity. Your position here is unique. Strategic, one might say. Strategic. Jessica's hand slid beneath her desk, finding the small quantum recorder she'd installed last week. One press, and it would capture everything. Earth sits at a crucial junction of spatial lanes. Vexthor continued, mandibles working faster now, excitement. Or something else. The Council has plans to establish a significant military presence here. For protection, of course. Of course, Jessica echoed, pressing the recorder's activation switch. And the medical treatments. There to help us adapt to space travel. Vexthor's antennae twitched, a gesture she'd never seen before. Precisely. Though I must admit, your particular interest in the data is concerning. The Council prefers its member species to focus on the benefits, not the technical details. The threat was subtle, but clear. Jessica laughed, channeling every ounce of naive enthusiasm she could muster. Can you blame me? I'm a scientist, Ambassador. Data is my life. But I understand. Some things are beyond our current comprehension level. Precisely. Vexthor's posture relaxed slightly. I'm pleased you understand. The Council has overseen the advancement of many species. Some adapt. Others. Well, nature has its own way of selecting the fittest. After Vexthor left, Jessica waited 10 minutes before activating her secure quantum link to Space Force intelligence. Colonel Anderson, remember that hypothesis I mentioned last week? I've just confirmed it. The Council isn't here to uplift us. They're executing a slow-motion genocide. She transmitted the recorded conversation along with her analysis. The fertility decline matches exactly with records from their archives about 17 other naturally extinct species. They're sterilizing us, planning to wear us down to a manageable population level before taking Earth as a military outpost. Anderson's response was immediate. Confirmation received. Initiate Protocol 0. Trust no one outside the core team. And Doctor, watch your back. The last scientist who noticed something similar on Proxima b had an unfortunate lab accident. Jessica glanced at the emergency bag hidden under her desk. Already ahead of you, Colonel. Miller out. As she left her lab that night, Jessica caught her reflection again in the window. The tired researcher was gone, replaced by something harder, colder. Humanity had spent its entire history preparing for alien threats. Now that the threat was here, they showed the Council exactly why Earthers were the most ruthless survivors in the galaxy. The Council thought they were dealing with naive newcomers. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. Colonel James Buck Anderson stood in the dark medical facility, the beam of his tactical light illuminating rows of cryogenic chambers stretching into the darkness. His team moved silently through the facility, their quantum-dampened suits making them practically invisible to Council security systems. "Check those markings," he whispered into his comb. "Dr. Miller, are you seeing this?" Through his augmented reality display, Dr. Miller's voice came through crystal clear from her hidden bunker. "Cataloging now. These are genetic samples from the Centaurians. According to official records, they died out from a mysterious genetic plague 300 years ago." "Plague my ass," Buck muttered, moving to the next row. "Team 2 status." "Sir, you need to see this." Lieutenant Sarah Walsh's voice was tight with controlled anger. "Section D7. It's already got Earth labels." Buck moved quickly through the facility, his boots silent on the polished floor. When he reached D7, his blood ran cold. Thousands of empty cryogenic chambers, all labeled with Earth classification codes. They weren't just planning genocide. They were ready for mass storage. "Download everything," he ordered. "Ghost, how's our timeline?" Kevin Ghost Martinez, the teenage prodigy they'd recruited last month, replied from his remote position. "Cancel security sweep in 7 minutes. Their eyes predictable. Same patterns for the last 1,000 years. Amateurs." Cocky little shit. Buck smiled despite himself. The kid was brilliant, having already cracked 3 layers of Council encryption that their best adult hackers couldn't touch. Dr. Miller's voice cut in urgently. "Colonel, I'm detecting power fluctuations in Sector 6. They're not from us. Someone else is here," Buck realized. "Ghost, I thought you had their systems locked down." "I do. This is... oh shit. Manual override. Someone's physically in their security station." Buck's training kicked in instantly. "All teams, fall back to exit points. Walsh, get that data out. Ghost, initiate protocol blackout." They moved swiftly through the darkness as emergency lights began to flash. Through the facility's windows, Buck could see the massive shape of a Council security cruiser descending toward the building. "Ghost, where's my blackout?" "Working on it. Their manual systems are." "Got it." The entire facility plunged into darkness. Through his tactical visor, Buck watched as the security cruiser suddenly veered off course, its navigation systems scrambled by Ghost's virus. "Nice work, kid." Buck grinned, but his victory was short-lived. "Colonel," Dr. Miller's voice was urgent. "I'm detecting an energy signature. They're going tow." The explosion rocked the facility. Buck's quantum-dampening suit protected him from the worst of it, but the message was clear. The Council was willing to destroy their own facility to keep their secrets. Later, in the underground command center beneath Death Valley, Buck reviewed the findings with Dr. Miller and Ghost. The teenager's fingers flew over holographic keyboards, while Miller analyzed the genetic data they'd stolen. 17 species, Miller confirmed, her face grim. All following the same pattern. First comes the medical aid, then fertility rates drop, then their populations decline to manageable levels. The survivors go into storage, their planets become military outposts, and their existence is erased from galactic records. Not this time, Buck growled. Ghost, what did you find in their network? The teenager's face lit up with a predatory grin. Their biggest weakness, sir. The Council hasn't updated their core security protocols in over 2,000 years. They think they're perfect, unchangeable. But I found a backdoor. We can shut down their entire defense grid when the time comes. And the Council still thinks their facility had a tragic accident. My virus corrupted all surveillance data. As far as they know, their secrets died in that explosion. Buck nodded, his jaw set. Good. Let them think they're still in control. Dr. Miller, initiate Phase 3. It's time to show these bastards why humanity never stopped developing weapons. We didn't trust peace would last, and we were right. Admiral Emily Steel Eyes Rodriguez watched the holographic display of Mercury's dark side, where hundreds of ships were being assembled in the massive underground facilities. The caverns, originally built as mining operations, now served as humanity's secret shipyards. Status report, she commanded, her steel-grey cybernetic eyes scanning multiple data streams simultaneously. Stealth systems are holding, Admiral, her XO reported. The Council's patrol just passed by again. Their sensors still read this as an abandoned mining operation. A new hologram flickered to life, showing Dr. Miller's face. Admiral, the weapons integration is proceeding faster than expected. Turns out their shield technology hasn't evolved in millennia. They never expected anyone to develop quantum phase torpedoes. That's what happens when you think you're perfect, Emily smiled coldly. You stop innovating. Ghost, how's our cover? The teenage hacker's image appeared, looking exhausted but satisfied. Just finished feeding them another batch of fake sensor data. According to their systems, Earth's military is still practicing with their approved technology like good little students. A sudden alert flashed across Emily's augmented vision. Incoming Council ship. Non-standard approach vector. It's an inspection vessel, Ghost confirmed, his fingers dancing across virtual keyboards. They're not due for another week. Emily's cybernetic eyes narrowed. All stations, initiate protocol darkness. Dr. Miller, shut down all weapons testing. Ghost, you have 30 seconds to sanitize our networks. The massive underground facility transformed with practiced efficiency. Construction bays retracted into Mercury's crust, holographic camouflage flickered to life, and thousands of personnel disappeared into hidden chambers. Council ship entering visual range, her XO reported. They're hailing us. Emily smoothed her uniform and stepped onto the small observation platform. The communication screen activated, revealing the mantis-like features of Council Inspector Zixtal. Admiral Rodriguez, the alien's translated voice held a note of suspicion. This is an unscheduled inspection. Inspector, Emily smiled warmly, channeling all her diplomatic training. What a pleasant surprise. We're always happy to demonstrate humanity's compliance with Council regulations. Our sensors detected unusual power signatures in this sector. Ah, yes, Emily nodded. We're testing new mining equipment. Would you like to see it? Though I should warn you, we're having some technical difficulties with our atmospheric processors. The facility isn't exactly comfortable for non-human biology at the moment. She watched Zixtal's antenna twitch, a sign of discomfort she'd studied extensively. The Council species were notoriously adverse to environmental hazards. That won't be necessary. Send your test logs to my ship. Of course. Ghost, Ensign Martinez, please transmit our mining operation logs to the inspector. Ghost's carefully crafted false data streamed to the Council ship. Emily kept her expression pleasant, even as her cybernetic eyes tracked multiple weapon systems silently targeting the inspection vessel. After an excruciating 5 minutes, Zixtal nodded. "Your logs appear to be in order. Carry on, Admiral. Council out." The moment the transmission ended, Emily's pleasant demeanour vanished. "Ghost, track their departure. Make sure they don't linger to take additional readings." "Already on it," Ghost replied. "They're leaving the system, and they bought it. Their report is already being filed, just another routine inspection of the primitive humans playing with their approved toys." Emily turned to the facility's main chamber as it hummed back to life. Construction bays emerged from Mercury's crust, revealing rows of sleek warships bristling with weapons the Council couldn't imagine. "Dr. Miller, resume weapons integration. Colonel Anderson, your strike teams have 3 more days to train with the new equipment. I want every soldier ready when we reveal ourselves." She paused at the main viewport, watching Earth's distant blue marble. The Council thought they were dealing with an obedient young species, eager to please their galactic betters. They had no idea that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their hidden fleet or advanced technology. It was their capacity for deception. "The Council thinks they're the teachers," she murmured. "Time to show them who the real predators are." Kevin Ghost Martinez sat in his high school cafeteria, looking like any other 17-year-old scrolling through his phone. In reality, his cybernetic contact lenses were displaying lines of quantum code as he waged a silent war against the most advanced AI network in the galaxy. Security Node 47 breached. He subvocalized, the quantum implant in his jaw transmitting to the hidden command center. "Dr. Miller, you've got access to their medical archives now." "Excellent work," her voice whispered in his head. "But Ghost, we've got company. Council A is scanning that sector." Ghost casually took a bite of his sandwich, his fingers appearing to text while actually redirecting massive data streams. "Already seen it. Watch this." He released a virus he'd spent months crafting, designed to think and adapt like a human teenager, chaotic, unpredictable, and impossibly annoying to the Council's rigid AA systems. The alien security programs, unchanged for thousands of years, had no defense against something that acted so irrationally. "You're clear," he reported, finishing his lunch as if he hadn't just breached the most secure network in known space. "But we've got another problem. My next class is AP Physics, and there's a Council Educational Observer today." "Cancel the class." Colonel Anderson's voice cut in. "Can't. They're specifically here to evaluate me. They're getting suspicious about why their primitive humans keep producing better tech than expected." Dr. Miller's voice held a note of concern. "Ghost, if they scan you." "They won't," he grinned, pulling out a small device that looked like an asthma inhaler. "Remember those quantum dampeners we reversed engineered? I miniaturized one. As far as their scans show, I'm just another dumb teenager barely passing his classes." The school bell rang, and Ghost headed to physics class. The Council observer, a tall crystalline being, stood at the back of the room. Its faceted surface sparkled as it analyzed each student's potential for advancement. Ghost played his part perfectly, struggling with basic equations on his tablet while simultaneously using his cybernetic implants to coordinate a massive cyber assault on the Council's defense networks. Each wrong answer he wrote covered the infiltration of another security layer. "Your species shows unexpected variations in capability," the observer noted to his teacher. "This one, for instance, seems particularly limited." Ghost bit back a smile as his virus penetrated the Council's deepest firewall, the one protecting their automated defense grid. Inside his mind, Admiral Rodriguez's voice was terse. "How long until we have full control?" 20 minutes. Ghost subvocalized while appearing to chew his pencil in confusion. "Maybe 15 if I—" Oh shit. A Council eye had detected one of his probes. Not the main assault. A secondary program he'd used to cover his tracks. But it was enough to trigger a response. "Ghost." Dr. Miller's voice was urgent. "What's happening?" "They're tracing it," he replied, maintaining his outward appearance of bored confusion. "If they follow it back, I need a distraction. A big one." Colonel Anderson didn't hesitate. "Done. Everyone, initiate Protocol Sunburst." Across the solar system, dozens of carefully planned accidents occurred simultaneously. A power grid failed on Mars. A mining explosion on Europa. Communications glitches throughout the asteroid belt. The Council's security systems, suddenly overwhelmed with real incidents, lost track of Ghost's digital intrusion. "That did it," Ghost reported, scribbling another intentionally wrong answer. "Defense grid is ours." They don't even know they'd lost it. The observer's crystalline surface flickered with colors, their version of taking notes. Yes, this specimen perfectly represents humanity's limited cognitive capacity. The Council's assessment of their technological potential appears accurate. As the being left, Ghost allowed himself a small smile. Let them think humanity was harmless. In 15 hours, when Admiral Rodriguez gave the signal, every automated defense system in Council space would turn against its masters. The bell rang again. Ghost packed up his things, heading to his next class like any normal teenager. Behind his eyes, the quantum network hummed with preparation for humanity's revenge. All pieces in place, he subvocalized, ready to begin Phase 5. Colonel Anderson watched his tactical display as strike teams took position around every Council embassy on Earth. The quantum-encrypted command channel crackled with final preparations. Strike Team Alpha in position. Bravo Team ready. Charlie Team targets acquired. From her hidden broadcast center, Dr. Miller's voice was steady. Transmission package ready. Every species in Council space will see exactly what their leaders have been doing. Ghost. Anderson queried. Defense grid is under our control, the teenager confirmed. They're about to learn why you don't give admin access to predictable AIs. Just waiting for Admiral Rodriguez's signal. High above Earth, masked by advanced stealth systems, Admiral Rodriguez watched the Council's diplomatic fleet hanging in orbit. All ships report ready, she announced. Colonel Anderson, you may begin. Anderson's cybernetic eye glowed as he issued the command. All teams, execute. The synchronized assault was beautiful in its precision. Across the globe, strike teams breached Council embassy defenses using technologies the aliens didn't know humans possessed. Their standardized security systems, unchanged for millennia, fell in seconds to weapons specifically designed to counter them. Embassy security systems neutralized, Ghost reported. Life support under our control. Air supply restricted to embassy staff quarters only. No casualties, but they're not going anywhere. Ambassador Vexler's panicked transmission cut across all channels. This is an act of war. The Council's automated defense systems will. Will what? Ghost's voice held a teenager's glee as he hijacked the transmission. You mean these defense systems? Across Council space, every automated defense platform displayed the same message in universal standard. Humanity sendis its Mari JRDs. Dr. Miller's broadcast began streaming to every Council species simultaneously. To all sentient beings in Council space, her voice was calm but forceful. For millennia, the Council has presented itself as a benevolent guardian of civilization. That was a lie. The broadcast showed the genetic storage facilities, the sterilization data, the extinction records. 17 species systematically destroyed. Their populations reduced, their survivors stored like specimens, their worlds turned into military outposts. Earth was meant to be number 18. In orbit, Admiral Rodriguez watched Council ships frantically trying to activate their defense systems. Ghost, show them what happens when you don't innovate for 1,000 years. The teenager's virus, mimicking the chaotic unpredictability of human thought, tore through their standardized systems. Council ships lost power, weapon systems targeted each other, and communication networks dissolved into chaos. Sir, one of Anderson's operators called out, Council leadership is attempting to initiate Emergency Protocol Omega. Anderson smiled grimly, just as we predicted. Ghost. Already done, the teenager replied. Rerouted their emergency quantum transmission to play the latest episode of Earth's most popular teen drama. Let's see how they like High School Musical, Mars Edition. In her broadcast center, Dr. Miller continued revealing Council atrocities, each backed by data stolen from their own archives. But humanity is different, she declared. We never stopped preparing for war. We never trusted that peace would last. And now? Now, Ambassador Vexthor's voice was shaking. You've doomed your species. The Council fleet. Admiral Rodriguez cut in, dropping her ship's stealth fields. The Council diplomats watched in horror as humanity's hidden fleet appeared, bristling with weapons they'd never seen before. The Council fleet, she said coldly, is exactly where we want it. Ghost. Their ships are locked down, he confirmed. Every automated system is ours. Their mighty fleet has less control capability than my dad's coffee maker. Anderson addressed the trapped Council staff. For centuries, you've eliminated species you deemed threatening. You thought humanity was just another primitive civilization to be culled. Instead, you found the predator you've always feared. Dr. Miller's broadcast reached its conclusion. To all Council species, watch what happens next. Remember that we could have chosen extinction for extinction. Instead, we'll show you true civilization. The warning shot had been fired. Now the real war would begin. Admiral Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the EFS's Retribution, watching as her fleet engaged the Council's invincible armada. The space around Earth's orbit had become a graveyard of Council ships, their ancient shields useless against humanity's quantum phase weapons. Status report, she commanded, her cybernetic eyes tracking multiple battles simultaneously. Ghost's virus has their fleet fighting itself in sectors 7 through 12, her XO reported. Their standardized combat AA can't adapt to our chaos pattern maneuvers. They're still trying to fight by their 1,000-year-old playbook. A Council dreadnought, twice the size of her largest ship, moved to engage the Retribution. Rodriguez smiled coldly. Helm, execute Maneuver Sierra 7. The Retribution's experimental chaos drive engaged, allowing the ship to move in ways that violated the Council's understanding of physics. They'd spent centuries perfecting predictable, efficient space combat. They weren't prepared for a species that embraced chaos as a tactical advantage. Coming about to primary target, her helmsman reported, they're attempting to predict our trajectory. Good luck with that, Rodriguez muttered. Ghost, status of their targeting systems. The teenager's voice was strained but excited. "Feeding them false data now. According to their computers, you're simultaneously in 3 different locations. Holy shit, they're actually trying to shoot all 3. The massive council ship fired its main weapons at empty space, while the Retribution slipped beneath its guard. All batteries, execute firing solution Delta 9, Rodriguez ordered. Quantum phase torpedoes, designed to bypass shields by partially existing in multiple dimensions, straight from the Retribution's launchers. The Council Dreadnought's shields, unchanged for a millennium, might as well have been tissue paper. Direct hits. Weapons Control reported. Their engineering section is, "Admiral, they're using their emergency transporters." Rodriguez's expression hardened. "Ghost. On it, intercepting transport signals, redirecting them to, hey, who wants 1,000 council officers transported into their own brig?" Through the tactical display, Rodriguez watched chaos unfold across the battlefield. Council ships, their crews suddenly finding themselves imprisoned in their own brigs, drifted helplessly. Others, their AI systems compromised by Ghost's virus, fired on their allies or executed random maneuvers that ended in collisions. "Admiral," our communications officer called out, "we're receiving surrender signals from multiple council vessels." "Patch me through to all channels," Rodriguez ordered. Standing at her command station, she addressed the entire battlefield. "This is Admiral Rodriguez of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your ships are disabled. Your weapons are useless. Your combat doctrine, unchanged for 1,000 years, has failed you. Surrender now, and we'll show more mercy than you've shown others." Our tactical display lit up with surrender signatures. Council ships, their crews realizing the futility of their position, powered down weapons. "Ma'am," her XO reported, "Council reinforcements detected entering the system. 3 full battle groups." Rodriguez's cybernetic eyes narrowed as she studied the tactical data. "Ghost, are you seeing this?" Already inside their systems, the teenager confirmed. "You're not gonna believe this. They're using the exact same security protocols as the ships we just defeated. They didn't even bother to update after seeing us hack the first wave." "Their arrogance is our advantage," Rodriguez declared. "All ships, execute Battle Plan Omega. Ghost, initiate system crash protocols." The Earth fleet moved like a swarm of angry wasps, their chaos drives allowing impossible maneuvers, while Ghost's viruses turned the Council's own ships against each other. Centuries of rigid military doctrine crumbled in the face of humanity's controlled chaos. "Status of Council High Command," Rodriguez queried. "Still trapped in their own brigs," Ghost reported cheerfully. "They're demanding to speak with you. Something about violations of civilized warfare protocols." Rodriguez allowed herself a grim smile. "Inform them that humanity never signed those protocols. We were too primitive to be invited to that discussion. Now they can experience exactly what humanity's primitive warfare looks like." The battle raged on, but its outcome was already certain. The Council's perfect order was about to learn the power of chaos. Dr. Jessica Miller stood in the massive genetic archive beneath the Council's capital world, surrounded by the legacy of 17 murdered civilizations. The raid team moved silently through the facility, their quantum-dampened armor making them ghosts among the stasis pods. "Life signs detected in Section Beta," Lieutenant Walsh reported, her voice tight with emotion. They're not all dead, Doctor." Miller rushed to the section, her medical scanners confirming the impossible. "Colonel Anderson, are you seeing this? We've got survivors in stasis. Thousands of them." "Confirmed. Anderson's voice crackled through the comm. "Ghost, what's the facility's status?" The teenager's voice was uncharacteristically serious. "You've got maybe 20 minutes before Council loyalists breach the outer defenses. Their entire military leadership might be in chaos, but their fanatics are still coming. And, oh hell, Doctor, you need to see this." A holographic display flickered to life, showing stasis pod data. Miller's hands trembled as she read it. "These aren't just random survivors. These are children. The Council kept the children of each species they destroyed. Insurance," Anderson growled, "in case they ever needed to restore a species under their control." A distant explosion rocked the facility. "Council forces have breached the outer perimeter," Ghost reported. 16 minutes until they reach you." Miller turned to her team. "Begin emergency revival procedures. Priority on the children. Lieutenant Walsh, get those stasis pods ready for transport." "That's over 2,000 pods," Walsh protested. "Then we better work fast," Miller shot back, her fingers flying over the revival controls. "Ghost, can you hack their stasis systems?" "Already on it. Bypassing safety protocols. Initiating mass revival sequence. But Doctor, rapid revival could be dangerous." "More dangerous than leaving them for the Council," Miller challenged, watching as the first stasis pods began to open. "Admiral Rodriguez, we need immediate extraction." "Negative," Rodriguez replied, her voice strained. "We're engaged with Council heavy cruisers in orbit. 20 minutes minimum before we can reach you." Another explosion, closer this time. Anderson's voice cut through the chaos. "Doctor, we need to move. Now." "Not without them," Miller insisted, helping a disoriented young Centaurian from its pod. The alien child, no more than equivalent to a human 6-year-old, clutched her arm with 3 of its limbs. "Ghost options," Anderson demanded. "Working on it. Their orbital defenses are—" "Wait. Yes. Doctor, remember that virus I used to trap Council officers in their breaks? What if we did the opposite?" Miller's eyes widened. "You want to hijack their emergency transport system to evacuate the children?" "Better." Ghost's grin was audible. "I'm going to make their own ships rescue them. Redirecting Council transport signatures. Now." The facility filled with the shimmer of transport beams as Council ships, their systems hijacked by Ghost's virus, began automatically beaming up the revived children and stasis pods. On their bridges, confused Council loyalists found themselves face to face with the very species they had tried to destroy. "Transport complete," Ghost confirmed. 2,147 survivors aboard 12 different Council ships. And their crews just got transported into their own brigs. Again. Miller watched the last transport beam fade, then turned to our team. "Plant the charges. The Council doesn't get to keep any of this." As they evacuated, the genetic facility exploded behind them, erasing the physical evidence of the Council's atrocities. But it didn't matter anymore. The truth was already spreading across the galaxy, and now they had living proof. Aboard the Retribution, Miller watched through the medbay window as children from 17 different species began to wake up. Some were crying, others were confused, but all of them were finally free. The Council thought they could play gods, she told Anderson as he joined her. They forgot that gods can fall. "And the children?" he asked softly. Miller smiled for the first time in what felt like years. "They'll grow up knowing that humanity, the species the Council called primitive, was the one that saved them. That's a lesson the galaxy won't forget." The real victory wasn't just defeating the council. It was ensuring their crimes would never be forgotten or repeated. The council's Grand Assembly Hall, with its towering crystalline spires and ancient monuments, now served as the stage for their final judgment. Admiral Rodriguez stood at the podium where for millennia, council leaders had pronounced the fates of lesser species. "The evidence is irrefutable," she declared, her cybernetic eyes sweeping across the gathered representatives of every spacefaring race. The council's leadership systematically destroyed 17 civilizations. Today, we end their reign. On cue, Dr. Miller led a procession into the hall. With her walked children from each of the supposedly extinct species, living proof of the council's crimes. The assembly erupted in a cacophony of different languages and expressions of shock. Order. Ghost's voice boomed through the hall's speakers, his control of their systems complete. The teenager might have been attending his high school graduation back on Earth, but his presence here was just as powerful. "The human admiral is speaking." Rodriguez continued, her voice steady. "We could demand extinction for extinction. We could reduce the council species to what they did to others. Instead, we choose justice with mercy." Former council leaders were led in, bound but unharmed. Ambassador Vexthor's mandibles clicked in agitation as Miller's medical scans were displayed above the assembly, proving the deliberate genetic attacks on countless populations. "Your leaders will face trial," Rodriguez announced. "But your peoples will not suffer for their crimes. Instead, we propose the formation of a new governing body, the Galactic Confederation." Carl Anderson stepped forward, his combat armor replaced with a formal uniform. "The Confederation will be founded on 3 principles: equal representation for all species, protection of sovereign rights, and most importantly, the preservation of diversity." Dr. Miller touched a control, and above the assembly, a massive hologram showed 17 new worlds. These planets, terraformed to match the original homeworlds of the displaced species, will be restored to their rightful inhabitants. The children we rescued will guide their people's rebirth. "But how?" a council member demanded. "Even with their genetic samples, rebuilding entire civilizations." "Is exactly what humanity does best," Ghost interrupted, his voice proud. "We've already modified the council's own cloning technology. The first generation of restored Centaurians is already growing. Every lost species will rise again." Rodriguez raised her hand for silence. "We know some will resist this change. To them, we say this. Humanity spent its entire history preparing for threats from the stars. We survived world wars, plagues, and our own near-extinction events. We never stopped innovating, never stopped preparing. The Council thought this made us primitive. Instead, it made us strong." The young Centaurian child, standing beside Miller, stepped forward, its voice translated for all to hear. "My people were nearly erased, but humans, the species called barbaric, saved us. They gave us back our future." Anderson activated another holographic display, showing fleets of Earth ships already beginning the restoration process. "The choice is yours," he declared. "Join us in building something better, or face isolation from the new order." The assembly chamber erupted in cheers as species after species pledged support for the Confederation. Even former Council worlds, seeing the wisdom of adaptation over stagnation, joined the new alliance. Hours later, in a quiet chamber overlooking the capital city, the core team gathered one last time. "Hard to believe it's done," Ghost's hologram mused. "Hey, Dr. Miller, think I can skip my history final? I mean, I kind of helped make history today." Miller laughed. "Nice try, Kevin. But you still need to graduate. The work's just beginning. Rodriguez reminded them, watching ships streak across the alien sky. We've got 17 civilizations to rebuild, new diplomatic frameworks to establish, and a galaxy to protect, Anderson finished. But this time, everyone evolves together. No more perfect, unchanging council. Just species learning from each other. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the sunset on a new era. Humanity had come to the stars seeking adventure, found genocide, and created revolution. But their greatest victory wasn't in destruction. It was in giving life back to the stars. The Council had feared change. Humanity embraced it, and that made all the difference.